Morning. It's Ask a Traffic Cop. That's what you're here and watching. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I answer your traffic and police questions on, the internet, because that's where we are. Today's the 21st of March. Did I say that already? And we are currently broadcasting on TikTok, Instagram, and all sorts of other platforms that include YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I say and Twitter because regardless of where you're watching, except for Twitter, you can ask us questions. Twitter, however, is currently broken, and your comments will not go anywhere but on screen for you. So if you would like to join us and ask questions or participate, please visit us on traffic services on any of the other platforms. But you can go to YouTube. That's our go-to YouTube. Traffic Services, Toronto Police, that'll get you to us so you can interact with us. And that's what this is all about. This show is really guided by you. What's that? Invert? Oh, yes, I need to press this button. Things I forget to do once in a while. Hey, it's me now you can read Toronto Police. Okay, okay. What? Oh, you know what I didn't do before? Because I went down a rabbit hole about other stuff. I didn't pull up my very important tweet that I put out this morning about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Now, Vision Zero Enforcement Team is our magical group of officers that are looking to change driver behavior in the city of Toronto. They're doing that through enforcement. They specifically go out to different divisions based on intelligence that is provided, the analytics that determine where we are most needed. Today, it's 23 Division and 41 Division. Those include the neighborhoods of West Humber, Clairville, Rexdale, Jamestown, Mount Olive, Wexford, Maryville, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, and Birchmount. Now, that's not all of the neighborhoods. There's more than that. But those are some of the neighborhoods that you may recognize as important to you. They're out there to look for speeders, aggressive drivers, impaired drivers, distracted drivers. Any driver that's taking place or taking part in that type of behavior is leading to serious injury and death on our roads. And I say they're leading to it. It's those behaviors that most often lead to serious injury and death. And as you may have noticed or if you watched the interview that we did with Turf, it's not if you're getting away with behavior like that right now, it doesn't mean it's safe. It means that you're just lucky. You're either are going to get into a collision or you've already gotten into one because of that behavior. And it's not a one and done situation. Continue that behavior, you might get into further collisions. It's not safe. It's not safe. That's why there's laws saying you shouldn't do it, and that's what this team does. They go out and hand out those tickets to change driver behavior. People say it's all about the money. It's not about the money. It's about giving you something to take home with, a souvenir that reminds you that what you did was wrong, and it is wrong. Okay, we got Kayla Draconis coming in from YouTube with greetings and salutations. Rob Baker, salut. And Q responded, of course, because I'm not paying attention, with a bonjour. Because, I'm not multilingual. I'm barely getting along in English these days. Let's see here. Q&A. Let's talk about that. If you are watching on Instagram, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a Q&A function. That function allows you to talk to me. If you're in the chat and you're asking away, well, unfortunately, I don't see it. There's just too much going on there. However, if you ask a question in the Q&A, that's something I will see. I'll put it up on screen on the platform that you ask it, and I will answer it. At least, hopefully I will. If you are on the other platforms, so anything like YouTube or Twitch, LinkedIn, anything but Twitter, I say Twitter because Twitter's broken, then I'll get you in the sort of the chat pool on Restream, so we'll be able to answer and deal with your question as well. Let's start with a question from Chasey. I always say your name, and then I always question whether I'm saying it right. What is above Constable, and when will you rank up? So my rank is Constable. That is when you from cadet. Once you graduate, you're a fourth class constable. I'm a first class constable, and that just means it means that I've gotten through more than 4 years, because that's roughly what the amount of time it takes to get a first class. The next rank up is sergeant. From there, staff sergeant, then inspector. You have superintendent, deputy chief, and chief. Sergeant might be in the cards for me. Maybe I'll write for promotion this year, and that's the next step up. So thanks for asking. What if you drive without insurance? That is what is it Tock asked. Well, if you drive without insurance, at least in Ontario, and I can't speak for other provinces what their rules are, but generally speaking, it's considered not a good idea. It's also very illegal. In Ontario, we have a sign called the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act, and that states that you must have insurance to operate a motor vehicle on the road. And what happens if you don't have insurance when you are driving? Well, aside from the fact that you might change your life or the life of another in the event of a collision when you are not covered by anything and you don't have the ability of getting your vehicle repaired or cover the lawsuit that will no doubt come afterwards. But it comes with a $5,000 to $25,000 fine range on your first conviction, along with up to 6 months in jail. So now they don't have to send you to jail, but it's amazingly, they might. So things not to do when driving. Driving without insurance is probably top on the list. If you are watching and you're wondering how this all works, well, I'm a police officer with the City of Toronto. That is the police service, Toronto Police Service, that I work for. This is Traffic Services. We are the citywide traffic unit for the police service, for the city, and we investigate collisions. We enforce Highway Traffic Act. We have specialists of all kinds. Now, if you've got questions, ask in the Q&A. We'll get to you. We're here for an hour, right till 11 o'clock, and we do it Monday to Friday, and we're trying out this 10 to 11. We did it for March breaks. It seemed to be the right thing. We did a couple of surveys. The viewers said 10 is where they wanted it to be, so we're going to try it out. We will be 9:30 on Wednesday when we meet up with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010 for a radio bit, but that is Wednesday. Every other Wednesday we'll do, I think, the extra large hour and a half show, because we'll include the radio and not take away from your ability to ask us questions. Something else I wanted to mention. Well, there was something else. Oh, tip of my tongue. What is it? I'll come back to it when I remember. Let's see here. New features, those poll features. Can I remove my plate sticker now? So if your plate sticker is currently valid, I'd leave it on until you renew online. Now, if you go online, you can do that renewal. It's free in Ontario to do the renewal now. And once you do that, I think you're safe to remove your sticker. But we've not heard a definitive answer from anyone as to what the right thing to do is. So I would wait until, at very least, until you're renewed. If you've renewed it, I think you're safe to go. Let's see here. Robin Lobb says, good that you're clarifying this. Being insured, it helps with road safety hygiene. Traffic services are of critical importance to us all. Thanks for your good works. Thanks, Robin. I appreciate the shout out. Yeah, insurance is one of those things that people don't like paying because it's bloody expensive, and I accept that. It is expensive, but it's incredibly important. Now, I've been involved in a couple of motor vehicle collisions where I was not at fault, and that insurance was very helpful. In fact, it's still paying for my rehabilitation because I'm still injured. I'm still dealing with the injuries from those collisions, and I really appreciate having been insured. I cannot imagine what life would be like if I was paying for physiotherapy and all those things out of pocket. So insurance good and not insurance bad. Joining me now is Sergeant Murray Campbell. He is off a ways away, but he is connected by ears and microphone. You can hear it. He's got cans on too. What's going on?
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's Monday.
It is. And you know what? This 10 o'clock start is actually a little bit easier for me to join in.
It's less stressful trying to get everything done before being able to spend some time with our viewers.
Yep. No, it seems to work out good. I hope it's working out good for everybody else.
Well, it seems to be what everyone wanted, and we'll keep checking in. We did some surveys, and it was without question 10 o'clock was the desired. Some people wanted 1 o'clock. Some people wanted 6 p.m.
Well, yeah. Well, we could look at that.
You know, do some weekend or after hours stuff. And you know, we're a Monday to Friday day shift. This office is day shift, but you know, there may be an opportunity in the future to do something here and there in the afternoon. I did some night broadcasts when I was traveling and doing the courses when I was out of town, and I did it from my hotel room, and that was pretty cool. It was definitely different.
Wifey.
Oh, we have Leo Wife in there in the room.
TikTok.
And TikTok. I never know where. I always look over to YouTube because that's where she used to come in. Good morning, dear. Hope your morning is going well. That's one thing. I get my hellos now online during the stream. My wife comes in and says hello. She supports it. Okay. Let me boost up your audio there, Q. If you're coming in low, I'll make it louder. Let's see here. Can you buy a car when you're 17? Yes, you can buy a car when you're 17, and you can buy a car when you're unlicensed. You can buy your car. Buying and owning something is different than operating it. So yes, you can buy it, assuming you have the money and means. Okay. Let me just go here. What if someone don't have money to pay for a ticket? So there's a couple of ways that that could be dealt with. One, you can go to court and say, I don't have the money to pay for this ticket, at which point they may make give you an opportunity to pay over time. Simply not paying, they would say, well, then you don't have the ability or the means to drive because you have to be responsible for what you've done. But very often, my experience has been that they will give you the opportunity to pay over a longer period of time, whether it be 6 months or whatnot, because there are situations that impact people, and some people have to drive and simply can't afford to pay for the fines that they've possibly accumulated. So yeah, you talk to the courts and they can make plans for you. Let's see here. Okay, this is a good question. I drive another person's car. They have insurance, but I don't. If you don't have insurance and you're driving it on a regular basis, that might be an issue for the insurance company. Legally, from our police perspective, if you are a licensed driver operating a licensed and insured vehicle, then that's not an issue. But come time for a collision, you might have a denial of insurance coverage because you're not on the policy, and they may determine that you're a regular driver. If you just borrow it here and there, that's generally covered, unless there's an exclusion on the license or on the insurance coverage for someone who's, let's say, no novice drivers, or if you lived with the person that you're borrowing the car, they may say you have to be on the policy. But generally, in broad strokes, you're okay.
Well, you know what? For us, you'd be okay because you meet the minimum requirements to be on the road. Insurance is a private contract between the person who's insuring the vehicle and the insurance company. So whatever rules that they put in place and you've agreed to, then you have to follow.
Yeah, so that's something that you want to find out from your insurance company. I'll give you an example. My wife got her G1 when a while back. I called the insurance company and said, "Do I have to add her to my policy?" They said, "No, not when she's a G1, but yes, when she's a G2." So having that good relationship and being open and honest with your insurance company. A lot of people don't like the way that sounds. However, it's a good way to avoid issues later on. That goes also with modifying your vehicle. People do things to their vehicles, change them from the way they were factory. Something happens, and then the insurance company says, "Hey, that's not what we insured." So being open and honest may cost you more money in the short term, may save you money in the long term. The cop retired. What happens when I go to court? Well, that's an interesting question, and I'm going to answer it in just 1 second. If you'd be so kind, on Instagram and on TikTok, please tap that screen until your fingers go numb. I know it's a big price to pay, but it helps the algorithm identify this channel as being something worth watching. It'll advertise it to other folks on the platform and bring more people to the party. If you would be so kind and if you're willing to, share it with people. You can actually forward this link to other people. You can post it on other platforms. Anything to help promote the live is good for us, and it's good for you. And I say it's good for you because it keeps us in business. Yeah, helps pay the bills. No, it doesn't change anything. Nothing to do with money. It just helps share the information. Sharing wealth. Sharing is caring. Let's see here. Same thing goes for YouTube and our other platforms. If you like it, if you share it, it really does help us out. Now, if you are watching, please know that there are occasionally folks who spam. Spam are people who are annoying and either trying to get attention because nobody hugged them. But please don't spam. We have moderators here. They are trying to keep it classy, trying to make it good for everyone who's involved and actually wants to talk to us and get answers to their questions. So please don't spam. We will mute you or ask you not to come back by way of a block if you do. So the cop retired. What happens when I go to court? Well, it does work where the police service will actually, I should say the court service will pay to have the cop attend court in some circumstances. Depends on the charges. For minor traffic, do they usually come back from retirement to testify?
They certainly can, depending on the set of circumstances that leads up to it, and it would be up to the prosecutor to decide that.
So you might be in luck in terms of not being, not having it continue. However, you might not. So you have to assume that you will be going forward to trial and that it's not a freebie. Okay, this is another good question. We've talked about this in the past. Why is radar detector illegal, but Waze tells us about cops? A radar detector or a jammer, let's stick with radar detector. That is illegal because it is a device that specifically tells you when speed measurement is in place. It prevents you, or it tells you when to slow down so you don't get a ticket. With Waze, it just tells you that police are present, and that's based on somebody reporting. It has nothing to do with what we're doing. It may actually not be accurate. So it's a very different thing. It may have a similar effect, but it's not the same.
It also could have a beneficial effect that you know that there's something happening up ahead. You're on a highway, there's police officers ahead. Maybe I'll slow down, and maybe I'll move over and make it safe for everybody that's out there working on the roadway.
Sure, and that's a really good point, because someone who buys a radar detector is likely not looking out for the police officer or emergency worker's best interest. They're looking out for their own. They want to speed. They're trying to get away with something. Someone who's using Waze is just trying to get around safely, and that is giving them good information as to how to plan their route. Very different intention, I think. I've seen a couple of invitations of people who want to come on the channel and be live on our live stream. I appreciate the request. We don't bring people on generally onto our lives just because we're the police and we have to know who you are before we talk to you. That's why this text opportunity is so good, but the video stuff could be dangerous. What is this? Oh, this is a funny question. I've been asked this before. I don't know if we've been asked during the live, so you could get points for being the first person. Do officers get commission on issuing tickets? I wish. It would be a great way to supplement a summer vacation. No, we don't. We don't get free toasters for hitting a quota because there are no quotas. But it is something that's interesting. Maybe you could write to the chief and suggest it. But as it stands, there's no commission. In fact, the police service doesn't get paid. It's the province in the city who get paid.
Yep, absolutely correct. We don't receive anything coming back from tickets generated at all.
But it is about traffic safety, as I mentioned before. Our goal is to make the roads safer. We do that by issuing tickets so that people will say that it stinks to get a ticket, and I don't want that to happen again. So it changes behavior, hopefully. Changes behavior. And that's all we can ask for, is to be safer, is to have people be safer on the road. Let's see here. Can I turn roar from second lane Y intersection? Y intersection? I'm confused. I'm doing the head turn dog thing going. I don't understand the question. I don't know what ROR is. Do we know what ROR is?
I would imagine that's right, but can't assume.
Can't assume. I'm going to give you what I think. I'm going to give you an answer for what I think you're asking, and that will prevent you from asking it again if it's correct. And if it's a guess that's incorrect, well, you can just ask me again. If you're coming off the highway, if you have that off ramp, maybe right off ramp, maybe that's what you're talking about. Right on red. Oh, Aurora is right on red. See, this is good. Thank you, chat. I actually saw behind there. So the deal is, if you come off the highway and you are waiting to make a right turn on red, and there are two right turn lanes, you can make a right turn from either of those right turn lanes. They have to be actual right turn lanes, though. If it's a left turn lane, you make a right. That's not proper and not accepted. But you can make a right turn if it's safe to do so from either of the right turn lanes. But you have to also turn into the appropriate lane. So curb lane to curb lane, second from curb to second from curb, and so on. Again, you must be able to do it safely. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a collision or being charged, or both. Are you an actual cop who patrols? I am an actual cop who is currently not patrolling because I'm recovering from an injury. I was involved in a motor vehicle collision, and as such, have been taken off the road because I'm not well enough to be back on the road yet. One day I might be back on the road. Fingers crossed for that. But I am a police officer, despite the fact that I don't go on patrol. Now, I do education stuff, which is a huge component of traffic safety, so I'm still contributing. I'm looking, this is cool stuff. At least it is for me. E-bikes on road or sidewalk. E-bikes are on road only, specifically prohibited from being on the sidewalk in Ontario, or at least in Toronto. Is it Ontario-wide?
I believe it's Ontario, yep.
I think it is Ontario-wide. The deal is that e-bikes are motor vehicles. They, if it wasn't for the fact that they have legislation that makes them bicycles, if they adhere to certain criteria, they're motorcycles, right? They're low-speed motorcycles, hopefully.
Sean, I disagree with you there. They are low-speed motorcycles no matter what. There's only exemptions that allow them to be operated without a license, without insurance, and without license plates.
I agree there. They get all the privileges of being a bicycle, but They are still motorcycles. You're absolutely right. And if you are drinking alcohol, if you're consuming drugs, then you are still eligible for all the wonderful charges under the criminal code, because they are under the criminal code still motor vehicles. Now, when you modify those, and many people choose to do that. If they exceed the speed limit or the limited governed acceptable speed of 32 kilometers an hour, they are no longer e-bikes. They don't get that protection which allow you to operate them without a license, ownership, or insurance, and then you're eligible for all the charges that go with that.
I've seen lots of people that take those pesky, pedals off because they don't want to pedal. They want to just operate it as a vehicle, and that renders it null and void. That's an electric motorcycle.
Absolutely. Despite and I've seen others that are doing 60 and 70 kilometers an hour uphill. So these are modifications that suddenly make them a much larger concern, and it really frustrates everyone else around, because why is this one person doing something so blatantly illegal, not paying for insurance, putting others at risk, and doing it for free? It really bothers people. We hear a lot about it.
Yep, we do. Bothers me too.
Yes. Well, that and very often, there's some very low quality or I should say, various qualities available. The braking systems that are on many of them are not meant for higher speed braking. So you go faster, and because the motor is capable of making you go faster, and then when you try and stop, bad things happen. Not to mention the fact that people are very often not wearing helmets and such. Okay. How can we increase enforcement for HOV lanes? It's a fantastic question. In the city of Toronto, you can certainly put in problem complaints in our online reporting tool. That is going to be at www.torontopolice.on.ca/core, C-O-R-E. Under there, you can make reports about specific vehicles or problem areas, neighborhood concerns for traffic. Now, if you're talking about on the highway, I would contact the OPP if there's issues, but I don't know if they have any online reporting tools for HOV. You might want to talk to them on their Twitter account. They have a number. The Highway Safety Division has access by way of Twitter. Kerry Schmidt, he's a sergeant there. He talks on social media all the time. You may want to reach out to him and ask him for some suggestions for the highway. Let's see there. This is, I have to decode, because this is going to be right turn on red versus left turn on green. Who has the right of way? I decoded that with hieroglyphs and everything. I'm so impressed with myself. Okay, Karen, that's a great question. So a right turn on red requires you to stop and proceed when safe. A left turn on green, they have a green light. They would have the right of way in that scenario. But at the end of the day, a turning movement in either direction must be done in safety. So both have hold on a sec. I have to get rid of a spammer here, there we go.
Both have a responsibility to operate safely, but if you're just talking about who has the right to enter the intersection and complete the turn, first and foremost would be the person facing the green signal, even if it's a green arrow.
They would have the first. I missed that as I was.
They would have the right of way to enter the intersection and complete their turn.
Yes,
the person facing the red has to wait.
Absolutely. Okay. I see. I went to go block the guy or the guy, girl, person who was spamming out of control. Q was already on it. Thanks, Q.
PC Hedgedus is in chat, sir.
PC Hedgedus, how you doing? Is it PC Hedgedus? Is it
PEO, my
PEO
bad.
Hedgedus? Okay, you gave him a promotion. I'm like, I didn't know. I was going to congratulate him. Okay, how are you in a collision? Are you okay? I am much better than I was. I was in a motorcycle collision. I used to be part of the motor squad. I was heading. I was heading back to the station, and someone pulled out of a parking lot, and we met in the middle. It was not the most fun day, but you know what? We live to continue to do different stuff in a different way. It's all about overcoming obstacles and never giving up. If you stop at a red light, it won't change. Can you proceed? No. Now, your username says Biker Girl Forever. Are you meaning on a motorcycle specifically or in a motor vehicle altogether? Listen, you can't go through a red light. There's no stale red law that allows you to count to 10 and then go. Best advice is to make a right turn, and where it's legal to make a right turn, you can do so safely, and then make a U-turn or go around the block the other way. But crossing a red signal is simply not permitted. Some people have been known to get out of their car and press, or their motorcycle, and press the walk signal to change the light, or reposition into different areas to try and trip the center. But simply going through the light's not acceptable.
I was about to say, Sean, if you look down on the roadway at many intersections, you'll see lines that have been cut into the pavement usually squares, but the size of the inside diameter of the car. And those are actually sensors, and they sense the metal over top of that. When I'm riding, I make it a point to, if it's proper positioning, I can do it, then park on top of those sensors when I'm coming up to a red light, so that the automatic traffic signal knows that I'm there and will start to cycle the light.
I've had people put rare earth magnets under their motorcycles, and all sorts of electronic devices trying to trip it.
Yeah, I don't know the science behind how it works, if it's magnetic, if it's how it is, but apparently it works.
Yeah, well, I've had pretty good luck. It used to be more of a problem back in the day for me, but it is no longer a problem for me. Mind you, I haven't ridden my motorcycle in a number of years, so I'll have to. I look forward to once again getting back on my bike at some point, and then I can, further discuss ways of beating the system to trip those signals. Okay, it's your boy Devesh says, I have an electric scooter and it goes 33 kilometers an hour. Well, if you have an electric scooter and it's an e-bike that you're calling a scooter, 32 is the legal limit. 33 suddenly makes yours illegal. If you're talking about an e-kick scooter, they have a maximum speed, or at least are legally required to not exceed, to do no more than 24 kilometers an hour, or they are illegal. And anywhere in the city of Toronto, e-kick scooters are not permitted. Not allowed. Is it legal to drive with LED pods on your Durals? I don't know what are you talking about here. LED pods?
Probably on your grill.
I'm not sure. It depends on what direction you're shining those LED pods. If you are shining light to the front, to the back, and it's of a color that is not permitted, that's going to be a problem. If you're talking about daytime running lights, LED pods in your daylight. So if you're changing the color of your daylight running lamps, that could be a major issue, because you're only allowed to project forward either white or yellow light. I've seen some interesting aftermarket stuff that glows inside the housing. You may be finding some problems with that. Technically, that would be projecting color.
And any lighting that's on the front of your vehicle, or the back of your vehicle for that matter, has to be DOT compliant. It has to receive a DOT compliance eligibility before you can put it on your vehicle and use it.
Here's a good question. Witnessing a bad accident, should I stay or should I go? Well, I'll tell you that I stop at all the accidents I see, especially if I witness them, because I want to make sure that the person who's involved in that collision is okay, that police, fire, and ambulance have been activated and or called. And then I also want to make sure that I can provide my dash cam if I have any, and be a witness to police, even though I'm not necessarily working when it happens. Do you have to stay? Well, I grew up thinking that it was an obligation. Is it an obligation to stay when you see something?
You know what? Under the Highway Traffic Act, no, there's not an obligation for it, but it is the right thing to do.
I agree.
And you know what? If somebody's hurt, reverse the roles. What happens if you got hurt and everybody just drove away?
It's really about being part of a community. We're all drivers. We're all people using the roads, whether you're walking, riding, or driving. It's about getting along together as a community. That's how we all, do better, in my opinion. If we're all out for ourselves and just move on because we're going to be late, I'll tell you the story. When I was in my motorcycle collision, I went for a short flight. The takeoff wasn't that bad. The landing sucked. And when I was lying in the middle of the street, people rushed off the road and sidewalks and came to help me. A retired police officer who turned out it was a friend. We just didn't know that at the moment. He didn't know who I was when I went for my short flight. And even when he was talking to me with my helmet and glasses and everything, he introduced himself to me, not realizing. But anyway, that's a long story short. The other folks, who were there to offer mouth to mouth or call an ambulance or just be involved, it was very nice to know that people were there to help. Because could you imagine if I was just lying on the road and people were taking pictures from the sidewalk? It's a very different feeling.
That does happen, though.
It does happen. So if you're in a position to help, I say you help. Okay, we went way further down the rabbit hole. We never do that, though, so it's okay. Never. In Canada, can you carry a firearm in your car? No. Well, yes. If you are a licensed firearm owner and you are transporting a firearm to and from certain places, like a range, for instance, or if it's long guns that are not restricted and you're going hunting or whatnot, there are ways you can carry. But when you say carry a firearm, that to me suggests carry for the purpose of self-defense or carry for other reasons, and that's not permitted. Did you want to add anything to that?
You know what? And there are rules that where you can carry them, how you can carry them, if they have to be locked, if they have to be rendered inoperable, where you can store them if they're in your vehicle and you're not in your vehicle at the time. Go onto the federal website. I'm not sure the exact website for it. Maybe you can put that up there. It'll give you all the firearms regulations in Canada.
Yeah, that is a federally controlled thing. The RCMP oversees it. If you are a firearms owner, will have had a license to do that, and you would be more than aware of the rules. Just because it's you have to take a course now to get your possession acquisition license or restricted status. So that's something that someone who's interested in that becomes very, very aware of the rules. So if you have an interest in that, you should speak to people in the industry. You can speak to any of the firearm stores. They will generally put you onto a local place to get your course, and you can also research online. But yeah, illegal firearms or firearms for self-defense, not permitted, especially when you put illegal before it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a hint. Are we allowed to have lights under our cars and bikes? So underglow, there's no law that says you can't have underglow. However, improperly installed underglow tends to be an issue if the bulbs are visible. If you're projecting light forward, back, or to the sides rather than straight down, you may be violating other rules. And if you have it where it's only on the ground, I'd avoid red, blue, and green. Besides that, you should be okay if it's not a distraction in general. Let's see here. Having a European front plate for looks, no, Ontario. You cannot replace your Ontario plate with a European plate. Can you have an additional plate from another country?
No, you cannot. You cannot confuse the identity of your vehicle in any way.
So that would be a no. Yeah, and we appreciate that. Now, the only time you can have a plate that is not a standard plate is when you have a classic. You can get classic year plates for classic vehicles.
Right. Those are plates that are issued by the ministry. And then you have to have them properly registered on your vehicle. I had a 1971 vehicle, and I was looking for a really nice set of plates that were issued in 1971, because back then, before 73, those plates were issued year by year by year. You got a different plate every year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And you know what? They lasted forever. They probably still look as good as they were when they were made.
They were made out of metal. So
Metal. Here's a great question. Well, first of all, today is the 21st. That's the second day of spring, 21st of March. Second day of spring. March breaks over. We have more people on the road. Instead of going to spend time possibly enjoying the parks and whatnot, they're probably going to school. So we're just as a general message, we're saying, what, plan ahead. Give yourself lots of time to get to where you're going. Expect to see more people on the road because there are people commuting now. It's 10:30. They've probably already commuted. But things to think about for the afternoon drive. Motorcycles, we're seeing more of them on the road. I mean, a ton more.
Yep.
It's still early for me. I don't think the roads have been washed sufficiently for my liking, but we are seeing more, so please be aware of those because they're everywhere. And motorcycle, Q wants to know about driving with bare feet and motorcycle safety. Those are things we should be talking about.
combined.
Barefoot on motorcycle has got to be the worst combination of things you could think of. It's amazing how quickly toes and fleshy parts of feet went on ground, and it's bad combination.
You know what I got to tell you? I saw a guy going down the sidewalk on Friday, bare feet on a skateboard.
Wow, that sounds...
Not lawful in the city of Toronto, but I thought, that's just a recipe for gravel, sharp stones, and everything. Ugh.
You say sidewalk?
Yeah.
They're not even lawful on the road. Skateboards are just not lawful.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Things people didn't know. Skateboards are not allowed. Okay. A special message to a friend of mine who's watching. It's his birthday today. It's Oliver's birthday, and I just wanted to wish him a very, very happy birthday. He's getting older. I believe he's 7 now.
7?
7.
Happy birthday, Oliver.
Happy birthday. And yes, we look forward to many more birthdays shared online with you. Okay. Let's see here. What is this? Can I work in police in Ontario in differ background? I'm not sure what you mean. But I will let you ask me again because I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? Let's see here. No, we're going to delete this question because that's obviously not serious. Why no blue, red, or green underglow? Well, blue, red, and green are restricted colors under the Highway Traffic Act. Blue and red are police and emergency. Green is volunteer fire. Those things may cause other issues if you are confused at a distance. And because they're restricted colors, you could get into other problems. Let's see. Follow-up question, how about if it happens on the highway? Mark, I don't know what the follow-up question is to the original question is. Okay. In Canada, what is your BAC max before it's a DUI? BAC being blood alcohol content. See, I caught the all.
Hey.
Yeah. Okay, so in Canada, 0.05 is where you are. So 0 is the goal, and for many, for novice drivers, it is the requirement. 0.05 is an HTA max, where if you are 0.05 or higher, you are not legal to drive, and you can receive a 3-day suspension or 7-day. Actually, it escalates depending on the number of times that you've had a worn range suspension. But for criminality, under the Criminal Code of Canada, it is going to be 0.08 and above. That is going to trigger a driving under the influence charge, and it's a criminal charge. And that's for alcohol. Of course, impaired driving by drug is another similar, but not measured the same way.
Right. And on top of that, it doesn't matter whether you've reached the 0.08 or not. If you're impaired is impaired.
Yes, and that
also contributes to a criminal code charge.
Absolutely. So just to explain that, BAC is one way to get to a charge. Impairment is based on your behavior. If you're fall down drunk at 0.05 BAC, then you're still impaired, and you can receive charges to that effect.
And sometimes you can receive both.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. Can you be convicted for driving offenses on TikTok? So this is interesting. TikTok charges. Is there a section of the TikTok traffic code?
There must be. Well, I know you can't use TikTok while you're driving.
Certainly, if you're making TikToks while driving, you're probably using your cell phone and eligible for handheld communication device charges, distracted driving charges. But I think this is more along the lines of if someone is recording themselves stunt driving. We have people who will take a video of themselves reaching speeds of 200 kilometers an hour or more on the highway. Can those lead to charges? Well, it certainly puts a lot of evidence into a bucket that could be used in later investigations. Is it possible to get a charge directly from a video? It is possible if we can identify the driver, the location, the time, date, and so on. So the potential is there. The people who are choosing to stunt drive or drive dangerously are not being so smart when they are putting it online, but they're not being so smart when they're doing those things in the first place. We get reports all the time. People are submitting video and tagging us all the time, and we appreciate it. Not always can we take action based on it, but we certainly make some notes and build cases.
Just like any other case that we're going to put together, you know what, video evidence would be one portion of the case that we're putting together. Once we have it all together, does it meet the threshold that we can lay a charge?
And as soon as we can, we like to.
Yes.
It's kind of our job. What is this? If the speed limit is 100, why fail test if I drive 80? That is up to the testing procedures. I couldn't tell you why they fail you for not exceeding the speed limit. Maybe they think you're being unsafe, or they feel that you're not confident enough to drive the speed limit.
You know what? There is a charge, too, for driving too slow on a highway or interfering with the flow of traffic.
Unnecessary slow driving. You cannot impede. But that also depends on what lane you're taking in. I imagine this is something the safe driver I haven't talked about Scott Marshall in a while. We need to get Scott Marshall to come say hello. Scott Marshall is the safe driver. He is a podcaster, TikToker, blogger. I think he's even getting into the YouTube business. But at the same time, he is a master driving instructor. He is the guy that teaches driving instructors to be driving instructors, at least for the young drivers family. And he will talk about the fact that you have to be able to match speed as you get on highway, and there's safe ways to do that. But he'll also tell you that you're not legally allowed to exceed the speed limit at any time, even when you're trying to merge onto the highway. So why they failed you, I don't know. If that's the reason they told you, you'd need to talk to them as to what and why. Let's see here. Is a one-horse open sleigh legal to drive? I know. I'm waiting for you to tell the story.
As long as it has a bell.
Yes. And Sergeant Campbell has actually maybe.
Well, look.
No? Okay, we'll leave that out. Does TPS use ALPR system on their traffic cars? So ALPR is the automatic license plate reading system. We have had in the past some systems being tested. I don't believe we are currently.
We currently do use them.
We do.
We do use them through our parking unit. So they're specifically been provided to us by insurance companies for an effort to track down stolen vehicles. The province announced when they got rid of the license plate stickers that they're going to be making an investment into ALPRs for all police services across the province to supplement our ability to look at license plate stickers and determine ones that needs the further investigation. So, yes, more are coming. Yes, we use them right now, and more are coming.
And that's great news. I think that's going to really change the way investigations on the road take place. My car has a blue license plate light. Is that legal? No. You're only allowed to have a white light. The light has to illuminate the license plate with more than three candela of power. It sticks out of my brain as an important note. But yeah, that's the deal. 3 candela of power. It must be white. If you have anything other than white light, expect to get pulled over a whole lot. It's just one of those things that stands out as a clue.
You know what? If you change what your license plate looks like, because different license plates have different colors. Commercial motor vehicles have white background, black letters. Passenger cars have white background, blue letters. Diplomatic plates, dealer plates. If you change what your license plate looks like, you're confusing the identity of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I didn't even think about it that way. That you might look like another province's or another state's license plate because it changes the color.
Or the classification of the vehicle and what you're allowed to do on the road with it. So
interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. I knew it was illegal, but I hadn't put that particular...
See, that's why we're here to work together.
Yes, it's a team thing. It's all about the team thing. Can Toronto police pull me over on the highway? Yes. Toronto police are police officers in the entire province of Ontario, as with any other municipal police. We all go to the same police college. At least the standardized education is the same, and we're sworn in for the whole province. So yeah, we can. Do we focus on the highway? Not necessarily, but we do have the ability to operate there.
Yeah. There's other police services that are responsible for the highway. Mm-hmm. Working or not working, we're police officers 24/7, 365, anywhere in the province. Do we do it? No, but if we have to, absolutely.
Yeah, and there's that may bring follow-up questions as to, well, why don't you? So when we're off with our families necessarily, we might become the best witnesses you can be, but it may not be safe for us to become involved in certain things. But you know, we're always police. Can't turn that off. Let's see here. What about drive-throughs and Apple Pay? Drive-throughs and Apple Pay, you're on private property. The handheld communication device laws don't apply on private property, although stunt driving laws do. Cell phones don't. So you can use your cell phone to pay or your Apple Watch to pay or order or whatnot. Let's see here. Here's another hieroglyphic question. So doing a right turn on red, then U-turn, and then straight on green is legal? Yes, that would be the suggestion. That is
unsafe.
Unsafe where?
Well, I would say it's legal, not the safest thing to do.
This is going back to the question of when no one's around. And
right turn on red, and then go up and do a U-turn within proximity of an intersection, and then you put yourself at higher risk.
It is higher risk.
It's not unlawful.
But if there's no one around because the lights aren't working, that's something we've often suggested. Yep. Is as long as it's legal and safe to do so. U-turns are only legal where not signed, where the visibility is good because you can't use crest of grade or curve, viaduct, bridge, railway crossing. But if it's a legal U-turn and it's safe to do so, you have to make that judgment on your own. It is higher risk. That movement is a higher risk movement.
Absolutely, and it brings to mind a police officer that was killed in Toronto a number of years ago, L'Oreal. Somebody had done exactly that. It was late at night and made a right turn, and without looking, started to make his U-turn, and not knowing that the emergency vehicle was coming through. Yeah.
Anytime you're turning, you're putting yourself at risk to some degree. You need to be incredibly aware of everything you're doing with your motor vehicle. And U-turns are one that you're turning into an area that most people have it's a blind spot normally. It's like a double blind spot in a U-turn.
Yeah.
Are tinted headlights and rear brake lights legal? It's his favorite question. He asks me that. If no one asks, I'm supposed to ask.
You know what? No, absolutely no. It's a hard no. And to follow up, what I usually say is, why in the world would you ever want to make your headlights less useful or your tail light's less useful, so that people coming behind you are going to run in the back of you.
100%.
I-
100%.
Vehicle manufacturers have to manufacture the lighting of the vehicle up to certain standards. An awful lot of vehicle manufacturers will do it to be the most cost effective, so they'll put the minimum standard in there. So if you're taking the minimum standard and making it not as effective, then no.
Yeah, bad idea. And I like to say that we call it a clue when we investigate a collision that has rear end damage, and we look at the lights, or in the front for that matter, and there is tinting on those things. We might attribute more fault to that collision.
Yep, absolutely.
And the insurance company for sure, for sure. Brian Thomas says, "Good morning, Sergeant Murray Campbell."
Good morning, Brian.
This is a great question. Jeremy Blankstein says, "What's the legislation in regards to bicycles with?" Oh, that's a different person they're paging. What is the legislation in regards to bicycles with gas engines? Those are motorcycles.
Homemade motorcycles.
Yes, they are motor vehicles. They require license, ownership, and insurance because they cannot be safetied by was it Canada Transport? I can't remember right now the name of the Transport Canada. See, words, different orders. Yeah, they haven't been tested to be approved by anything, so you can't get them plated and licensed even if you wanted to. They're just not legal for street use, period.
And they have to fall within all the criteria and all the minimum safety things that a moped would have to.
If they were going to be licensed for the road. And
If they were going to.
And something to be, because people say, well, what about mopeds? Well, mopeds used to be, I think between 2000, until 2008, I think that's when the law changed. They were motor vehicles, but you could use them with a G-Class license. Now you require a low-speed motorcycle license to operate, at very minimum, a low-speed motorcycle license to operate a moped. Same thing would apply if that was a licensable vehicle.
Yep.
But I've seen people riding those on sidewalks, on roads, and they're wild. Some of them look like they have weed whacker engines on them. They're not legal. And again, even if you're breaking the rules and putting it on the road, it's not just you have an unlicensed vehicle that shouldn't be there. We're talking no insurance fines, $5,000 to $25,000 fine, plus up to 6 months in jail for that charge. And then, of course, $110 for not registering it, and if you don't have a license, the charge is related to that. It's a bad day all around.
No safety, no headlight, no brake, no horn, no everything.
Yeah, you might be trying to save money by having one of those vehicles. You might be paying a whole lot of it if you decide to use those on the road. Let's see here. But Jeremy, thank you so much for asking. Jeremy's coming in from Facebook. Rob Baker says, "Can I mount my motorcycle plate on the back of my helmet?" Well, no. There's a prescribed place to put it. It has to be illuminated, and no. It's just no. One of my colleagues is going to teach me to ride a motorbike and get my to ride a motorbike. And good stuff. Ryan Pinn, who is a driving instructor in Nova Scotia, says he's going to get a motorcycle license. That's exciting stuff. Both Sergeant Campbell and I ride. Even though I had the collision, I still think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yep, absolutely. But both of us took a training course when we first started.
Well, I got my training course eventually.
Okay.
I actually started, and so funny thing. I learned how to ride by getting a bike and riding it. I'd ridden off road before and things like that, but I ran into while I was filling up gas one day when I was 16. A motorcycle instructor started shooting the poop with me in the parking lot, and he says, "Do you know anything about push steering?" I'm like, push steering? What's that? I very quickly realized how little I knew, and then I took the course because there was stuff I just didn't know. And of course, I became later a professional rider. I became a motor squad officer, and you learn even more there. So driver education, whether it be 2 wheels or 4, super important.
You know what? I've been riding dirt bikes, mini bikes, since I was probably about 8. And taking the course, you always learn. Every day you learn something. The course opened up my eyes, especially for push steering.
Yeah.
Never knew the concept. Never understood the concept. Cannot ride a bike without doing it now.
It's
your emergency.
It's adding a name to something that you may have been doing unintentionally. But once you understand the concepts of it, then you can put it to work for yourself.
Yep.
It's a whole different world. Let's see here. This is circling back to something we were talking about earlier. Akela Dracona says it's inductive loop. You can trip it with a work boot if it's aligned correctly. This is talking about the sensor to change the lights.
Absolutely.
So you're inductive loop, so you're interfering with the magnetic field, I believe.
Between two wires.
Sergeant Maple Bacon says, what happens if I drive on the highway with a G1? So I guess it's a two-part answer depending on how the question was intended. Is it driving with a G1 with a supervising driver or driving with a G1 alone and then nothing? So if you're driving alone, you're violating your conditions and you are eligible for a 30-day suspension because you are driving unaccompanied. That's a no-no, obviously. And the first part of learning about G1 is that you must be supervised. If you're driving on the highway with a G driver, you're also violating a condition, and it comes with the same or similar. You're still going to get your 30-day suspension for violating a condition, although the wording of the charge is going to be different.
But there is one circumstances where you can't, is there not?
If you're with a licensed driving instructor, not mom, dad with a G license, but a licensed driving instructor, like someone like Ryan Pinn from Nova Scotia, who's a driving instructor, and that's his professional calling, well, then you can go on the drive, because that's how they teach you. They specifically do that with cars with brake pedals and fun stuff. So that's the only time you can go on the highway. Or I shouldn't say the highway, because the highway is any road in Ontario, the expressway. The 401, the 400 series highways, the ones with speed limits that are 100 kilometers or over 80. That's what we're talking about. Big Jeff Fresh, by the way, if I didn't say hello earlier, I'm saying hello now. Okay. Army Vet Gaming is going to the airport. He's got to go. Let's see here. G1 driver. Okay, we talked about that. Red light cameras. How long for ticket in the mail? I do not know. However, I do know that there's a bunch of people who are spamming and continue to spam despite us asking you not to. So please don't spam. It makes our moderators, who are volunteers, not paid members, not police officers, they're just here out of the kindness of their hearts, making it better for all of you, the community who comes in to chat with us every day. So please don't spam. We will kindly, we ask you and then we tell you by way of blocking you, and nobody wants to do that. Okay. Hi, it's Jenna from Arizona. It's Jenna who's in Arizona. Hi, Jenna. Let's see here. Straight out of the hood exhaust for a diesel Jetta. Is it legal? Straight out of the hood? I'm going to say probably not illegal. Or not legal, sorry.
Yeah, definitely not legal. Yeah, if it's coming straight out of the hood, obviously it's not in the rear of the passenger compartment. That will stop emissions getting into your inside compartment. You won't have your diesel particulate filter. You won't have your muffler. You won't have all the required things to happen there.
Yeah, that's a straight pipe, and if it's coming out of the hood, most likely. So it's going to be Environmental Protection Act, so you're going to lose your license plates. We're going to pull you off the road. You're going to get additional tickets for noise. You're going to get tickets for improper muffler or lack thereof, improper exhaust. There's a ton of charges.
And if it's coming out of the hood, then you're going to start breathing it because it's going to come in your car.
And visibility, because it's probably going to be sooty, yucky, smoky. Just saying.
It's just going to block your view. It's coming out of the hood.
Yeah. If you have ever just considered becoming a police officer or a member of the Toronto Police Service in all sorts of different capacities, because we hire civilians and volunteers and police officers and special constables, you know what? Check out our website, www.tps.on.ca/careers. Did I say that right? TorontoPolice.on.ca /careers. I saw the what I put on screen on TikTok is tps.on.ca, but I'm not used to the little tiny version. I have to say it out loud to be, right. So yeah, check us out. We're hiring Toronto police officers or police officers to work in Toronto right now. And I saw on, was it LinkedIn today? We're hiring laterals. If you're a police officer from another police service and want to come to Toronto, want to work for the bigger service, put in an application. We are looking for qualified people. Can I hold phone to ear on private property? I imagine you'd want to make a phone call at that point as opposed to just warm your ear. Why would you just walk? Anyway, bad joke.
Wow.
So the deal is that if you're on private property, the Highway Traffic Act offense of distracted driving or specifically handheld communication device doesn't apply. So yes, you could do that, although it's still unsafe, and if it led to a collision, you'd still be responsible for it. But you can do it. And if you are driving anywhere, highway or not, if you are calling 911 for police, fire, and ambulance, if you're calling for an emergency, there is an exemption that allows you to do that. So this is good to know. Do you think Tim Hortons roll up the, what is this? He wants to know if, do I think Tim Hortons does the roll up this time of year to prevent people from giving up coffee for Lent?
Oh, well.
I
I
don't know. I've never thought of that. Okay. Hidden radar jammer. An officer can't find it.
Oh, but we can look.
Yes.
And we can look anywhere. And we take stuff apart to do it.
Yes. You just because it's underneath your dashboard does not make it, safe. We can disassemble things to search, and we have the authority to search and seize it if we believe that it's there. Now you say, well, how do you believe? Well, there's these hints, like when we make a reading of your speed and it says you're not going anywhere because it says 0, or it's at a speed that we know is not accurate. For instance, if everyone else is doing 80 and yours says 60, we call that a hint. So when we have a belief, we can stop you, we can search, and we can seize. And if it's hidden, most often than not, people just say, here you go, we don't want you to break our car.
Yep. And we don't put cars back together either.
Yes, it's a DIY project. We disassemble, you reassemble. Let's see here. So where can I do wheelies and not get into trouble? Well, the only place that you can do stunt driving, perform stunts is a racetrack or an event that is licensed and permitted by the city. So if you were to book the road and pay the appropriate fees and you were given a license to do it effectively, then you could do it. Otherwise, you just can't do it anywhere.
Yep.
Let's see here. What does 75% truck sign means? I don't even know. I've never seen this sign.
No, neither.
I'm not familiar with this sign. If there's a sign, does somebody else know what the sign is? We'd like to hear what the sign is. I've just never heard of it. Okay. Let's see here.
Could it be the weight?
I don't know. I've never seen a sign that says 75%.
You know what? The MTO can call a date, and it's usually the 15th of March, where the weight ratio, the actual weights, go down for spring trucking season. So commercial vehicles, they can only carry a percentage of what they're legally allowed to carry at any other time of the road.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know
It's
that.
on right now. It's spring.
Okay. Spring has sprung, and now less is more.
Restricted load
Is it not
season.
the truck where it's a yellow sign where it's got like the little tilt on it?
The little
The overturning
tilt
sign? I'll
That-
send it to you.
She's sending us pictures. What is the law around new hands-free driving cars? Well, this is some terms that I'm not familiar with because you're combining two. So there are cars that will allow you to drive, and it will, like for instance, the autopilot mode of a Tesla. You're still required to be there and check in on a regular basis. So the question is, can you use your cell phone when you have one of these cars that's capable of maintaining its lane placement? And the answer is no. You cannot use your cell phone, regardless of the quasi-autonomous mode, because it's not really autonomy. The level of autonomy is not. Is it level 4 that allows you to drive where you want? I don't know. Numbers are important, but I don't know them. The true autonomy, where you could just program a destination and sit back and do nothing, that is not something that's legal in Ontario and or available here. So, as the driver, you're responsible to supervise that vehicle and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. And you cannot be on your phone when you are responsible for the safe operation of that vehicle, even if your hands aren't on the steering wheel. I have laid a ton of charges for Tesla owners because it's a hint. Hey, it's a Tesla. Let's see if they're on their phone. And you know what? Very often they are, because there's a belief that they can do it. And that I think it's a belief that they can do it safely, and it's not the case. In court, I've had some great trials where people say, but it's an autopilot. I wasn't driving. And then we have discussions about, did you have to be in the driver's seat? Because, in fact, if you were to get in the passenger seat, that would be stunt driving. So, yes. Linda, hello. She says, hello, hero. Linda is a big supporter of law enforcement and first responders, and always comes in and says, hello, heroes. So I convey the message with an explanation as to why hero is attached. I have not specifically saved Linda, but I appreciate her always coming in with nice words. Let's see here. All right. Time. It is time. It is 11 o'clock. It is time to sign off for yet another episode. It is done. It is over. We will be back tomorrow from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. We're trying out a new time. We put out a poll. The overwhelming response was that 10 o'clock was better for everybody, and we thank you for that. We're going to try it out. Maybe we'll keep this going for the summer at very least. Maybe it'll be forever. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Can we do a quick and dirty one?
Pardon me?
Can we do a quick and dirty one?
A quick and dirty what? Question, you mean? Sure.
Question. Can I put my old plates on my new car?
I'm sorry, I have to recover. What do you mean? Like you're buying a new car and your plates were not assigned to any particular motor vehicle, but you had them in your possession and they were unassigned and you went to buy a new car, could you put them on? Yes, you could. If you had a situation where your plates and there was insurance associated with a vehicle because you called the insurance company to let them know you're buying this new car, then you could put your old plates on as long as they were valid and transport your vehicle home. You'd have then 6 days to properly register it. And nowadays, there's no real good reason to do that because you could just complete your transaction at the ministry, and then you're in a far better place, in my opinion, because when you're selling, and this is to protect sellers in particular. If you're selling a motor vehicle in Ontario and you sign over your little green slip and you keep your plate portion and they go off, what is to make sure that person transfers the vehicle out of your name into their name? I'll give you an example of why this might become important. Like they do something with your car and your car gets seized, like they park it overnight and it gets seized or impounded. Who's responsible for that car? Well, you are, because it's still in your name. And then you get a bill for $5,000 because this is a story that happens all the time.
It does. Unfortunately, it does. Another requirement for the sellers of vehicles, you have to fill out a used vehicle information package in Ontario. That package shows if there's any liens on the vehicle, but if you fill it out properly, you are going to have the name, the address, and the identity of the people that are buying your car. So when your car does get towed and the Repairs and Storage Liens Act says, no, you owe $5,000 for 2 months of storage.
Yeah.
Then you go, nope, I've been to the ministry like it told me to do, and I've marked my vehicle as sold. This is the person who bought it. There's their identification, and there's the signature that it happened. And you still may have to fight it, but at least you have some backing behind you to prove you did the right thing.
Or just go to the ministry, do the transaction there, and the person who's buying your vehicle, well, they get new plates issued right then and there, and there's no questions asked. Like, it's just done. That's the way I would do it if I was doing it.
Now that trip permits are not issued in Ontario, and you actually get license plates with a temporary tag on it. Temporary tag. I wonder if that will still remain when...
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how they're going to do that.
We've been asked, but we ignore the question because we don't know.
Yeah. The Ministry of Transport hasn't actually given us very good information on the elimination of validation stickers. So, yeah, we'll see.
It's sort of like a coloring book, and you have to draw your own lines between certain points. But anyway. Q says that was not quick nor dirty.
Well, it could be dirty license plates.
This is true, which is against the law.
Yep.
Ms. Deely says, what is a radar jammer? A radar jammer.
Did you just squirrel again? And
I did. I went to
an
another
end,
question.
and then you went for
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, we're just going. It was a good question. I was reading it while we were talking, and I just figured we'd answer that because it tied into a previously answered question. So what is a radar jammer? A jammer, it is a device that emits a fake signal. It's a real signal, but it's a signal that emits it makes radar or laser systems believe that this an inaccurate speed.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it returns information that tricks devices into believing and giving a readout of a speed that is not accurate to what the vehicle is actually traveling at. So let's say you were doing 100 and your radar jammer was set to do 20 kilometers below. It would only read 80 instead of the 100. But again, this is not our first rodeo, and these are things that are not that hard to identify. I think that was the only one that I wanted to jump on and add to our list of things. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the weather. Looks like it's going to be nice outside.
Yeah, today it is. I think so.
I'm going to have windows down, sunroof open on the way home.
I may have to go for lunch today.
Ooh, I have a tuna sandwich. Anyway.
I want to go.
You want to go? Well, you got to come back down. All right, we are out. We are in. We're hitting buttons for music, and that is the lead out. Yeah, like I said, I hope you have a wonderful day. Tomorrow, topics for tomorrow. Send us messages. Let us know if there's anything you want to talk about other than regular questions. For the themes, we should do themes.
Unfortunately, tomorrow I won't be with you, so
Okay.
I have stuff to do.
Well, I'll be back. We'll be back.
Okay.
Maybe we can find a stand-in for Sergeant Campbell. I don't know who's going to be here. I don't know. To start sending questions out. All right. With that, I say bye-bye.